Everyone. So today we're gonna discuss about the market analysis in the research that I undertook of India's MedTech medical technology sector. And as health tech technologies are spreading very fast, and India, this sector is actually in its nascent stage, but I think it's gonna happening a substantial transformation it's happening in India's medical technology sector and industry. So that's why I thought to research about it and cover it. So the title is The Renaissance of a Sector, that's the Indian medical technology sector. So if you do a market overview, if you do the valuation of the whole sector, so it's a $12 billion market valuation. It combines in FY 23-24, obviously this year we are talking about. And the good part is it is growth. It's growing at 20% CAGR, very fast growing, and it's expected that it will reach around a $50 billion by 2030. So the thing about it, why companies are focusing so much on it, if you compare it with the pharma industry is growing 12% CAGR, right? But medical technologies are growing at 20% CAGR, so very fast growing. If you this is for Indian stats, but if you look at this global medtech market segments, so it's also growing more than 8% annually, right? So from 2019, you are seeing in the screen 2021, 2023, and you're also seeing the distribution with respect to different segments of the market. So if you do a broad market segmentation of medical technology, you will find that there are therapeutic devices, there are research equipments, there are non-imaging diagnostics, and there's imaging diagnostics, right? So broadly, if these four classes you can classify it into if you do a broad level market segmentation. So the largest segment is actually therapeutic devices, and obviously it's growing fast. 2019 it was $35 billion. 2023 it's to $25 billion, right? So this is the different segments of the market. If you see, if you see about the geographical split. So as we talked about in the earlier part, that this industry actually that's nascent stage in India, right? Medical technology, but actually in US where the healthcare costs are staggering, and obviously a lot of innovation in medical sector has been done in USA, right? So even the largest market share is also in USA. So if you do a broad geographical split, you will find it around the global market actually concentrated just in USA. And this is also reflected in the GDP spend on healthcare. So in USA, it's more than 16%, European Union 10%, and Asia Pacific, East Asia, India also included in it. It's around 6.8%. South Asia, it's 3.3%. And India is obviously in the South Asian category. So obviously, our healthcare spend is like one fifth of what US spends as a proportion of the GDP, right? And that's why if you see this broad split, 43% USA market of this medical technology is from USA, 32% it's from Europe, and 19 to 22% it's from Asia Pacific, whole Asia Pacific combined. So, so the market segmentation is firstly due to a broad level one we did now actual segments. So one is the equipment, which is electronic equipment, is which is the largest by far market. So all these devices, these are actually electronic equipments. Also there are diagnostic devices, specifically in vitro diagnostic devices. There are disposable and consumable things also in medical technology included, and there are surgical instruments also which are utilized by the surgeons during the surgery, and there are implants, both in vitro, ex vitro implants are included here. So these are the five categories: electronic equipment, in vitro diagnostics, disposable consumables, surgical instruments, and implants. But the major or key trend here, you are seeing that there is a lot of digital integration, as you see, or Internet of Things, that internet digital technology integrating in these devices. For example, software as a medical device. This model has also came into being very recently. Right? And if you see the split, like 56% of the market is actually electronic equipment, followed by the second largest category, which is disposable and consumable. So these two broad categories are the major categories: electronic equipment and disposables and consumables. So these are the key devices. Now we are talking more for in Indian perspective, like which are the key devices imported and exported for India. We are talking about from the trade perspective. So this is trade dynamics for Indian perspective. So we are importing Obviously, this list is non-exhaustive. A lot of more things are there, but we are covering broad things. First is robotic navigation solutions, which we are importing. Uh, X-ray film, X-ray film viewer, a chromatograph, electrophoresis instruments, electronic therapy apparatus, gas analysis apparatus, MRI machines. These all come broadly under electronic equipments, right? And if you talk about the second biggest category, which is disposables, and if you see the global, if you see, 56% is actually electronic equipment worldwide, but in India it's more than that. It's 64%. So it's in the most important category is actually electronic equipments in terms of what we are importing, because actually in India we do not manufacture these electronic medical technology equipments, right? All these equipments, maybe X-ray viewer or a chromatograph or a MRI machine, we don't manufacture in India. We all import it. But if you see in the export section, interestingly, we just export 38% of our export is from medical equipment. And which are the key medical equipment that we are exporting? X-ray equipments, X-ray tubes, electrocardiographs or ECGs, endoscopes, electroencephalograms, MRI machines, radiation generation units. So these are the things that we are exporting in terms of electronic equipment from India, and they comprise almost of 38% of our total export of medical technologies from India. So, second sector is consumables. 17% import is consumables and disposables. Syringe needles, X-ray rectifiers, diagnostic reagents, surgical gloves. So these gloves, syringe needles, these are consumables, disposables, things in medical field. But if you see at the export of India, almost half of the export is comprised, but this is the low value segment of the whole value chain, disposable and consumables. And what we are exporting in these disposable sections: cannula, fabric garments, contraceptives, hand sanitizers, surgical gloves, blood collection tubes. So India, I think, developed a great capacity of for hand sanitizers and surgical gloves, uh, etc. Also contraceptives, also condoms and all. Right? Then in vitro diagnostic is also there, implants are also there, surgical instruments are also there. But in terms of the export and import, their whole contribution is little. And you can obviously read in this list that what are the things that we are importing, what are we exporting, etc. So there's diagnostic kits, there's artificial joints, there are analyzers, there are staplers, electronic trochanterians, defibrillators, etc. And ophthalmic implants, artificial joints. If you see the Indian medical technology industry, historically non-existent from 2009 till 2022, it's now 11, staggering at whooping $11 billion, right? And it's forecasted to reach a $50 billion because of a very high growth rate until 2030. So over 14 growth drivers we categorize into key three things, because this growth, the high growth of 20% CAGR that you are witnessing here, something fundamental which is happening in this sector. And the three themes that capture this like substantial shift which is happening is: firstly, changing disease patterns. So earlier the disease pattern used to be much more now the diseases are much more chronic in nature. So earlier they were more communicable diseases. Now more non-communicable diseases are parting like more segment. Like for example, diabetes, hypertension, and cardiac diseases. These comprise more. Earlier, these used to be infective diseases, right? And the healthcare delivery trends are quickly changing in terms of patient outcomes, in terms of the medical industry, how it's structured, or the whole insurance medical nexus which is there. Also the demographics. So India, although we are a young country, but gradually we are aging, because our fertility rate is now less than 2.1. That means that after some time we will stabilize our population and obviously further decline, and our population age will significantly increase. And there are socio-economic factors that, because India per capita income is increasing, so obviously the spend on healthcare also increases in such kind of economy, right? So people have more disposable, more income to spend on better quality of healthcare, moving to even to from unorganized healthcare players to organized healthcare players. And that's why you see a lot of shift, a lot of demand pumping for hospitals in India, for diagnostic players in India. Right? The other thing is the evolving medtech industry ecosystem. A whole set of, although the industry is in nascent, but an ecosystem kind of thing is getting developed here. So what are the trade dynamics? First thing is our import dependency. which is like we import 85% sort of thing in India, medical technology right now. But the goal is to get to around 50% by 2030. Export growth, surprisingly, it's 14% CAGR. So recently in 2023 to 24, the export is around $3.8 billion dollars, and our major exporting destination is USA only, right? So if you see about our imports, the largest import is from also USA. Export is also from USA. Import is also from China, but we don't hardly export anything of medical technology in China. Import growth, export growth, roughly same, 13% either out, CAGR year-on-year growth. And if you see here a stark thing, which like pains me a lot, you see the import bill of India in medical technology, it is staggering $8 billion, and the export we are doing is just $3.8 billion. And so there is a trade deficit in this sector, and that's why our dependency on import should decrease. We should increase our export also, right? So Atmanirbhar Bharat and all these schemes, PLI schemes that are being launched, they are definitely benefiting the sector, but we will see subsequently what is happening in the sector. If you see here, the sector is obviously outperforming pharma because pharma in India growing at 12%, medtech 20%, right? So that's why people like there's a whole ecosystem building and a lot of interest of private equity in this. So if you see globally, the medtech companies, what global MNCs are deployed, because global MNCs are also functioning from India. They are making strategic partnerships with Indian firms and with research firms. They are localizing their products according to the Indian market. They are digitalizing the products and services. These are the key things, strategies they are using for growing in India. And also there is targeting from Indian perspective, the Indian companies is we are targeting imports reliant segments. We are manufacturing them in India so that our import reliance could be decreased further on. Also, the Indian companies are pursuing low focus products, which are low focus for MNCs, like uh, like consumable disposables. Indian companies are focusing on that. Also, they are focusing on price sensitive segments. So they are focusing on decreasing the price sensitive segments in which the customer is price conscious, and they're penetrating their growth there. And also they are expanding their product portfolio. And also some even companies are there which are taking a bold move of getting global, right, which is phenomenal, right? So leveraging digital innovation and cost competitiveness here is a major strength area. So what are the opportunity? A very big opportunity in this whole manufacturing of medical technologies. Also, uh, the CDMOs, all the contract research development organizations, manufacturing organizations in the medical industry. So obviously, here what will happen? A big company will do the research, and he will outsource. This company will outsource their operations of manufacturing to Indian companies. Also, there are some companies which are specializing in the research part of the value chain, and global companies are outsourcing their research activities to these companies. So these all those kinds of firms exist. They are broadly classified as CRDMOs or contract research development organizations. So, for example, if you see these global companies like Johnson and Johnson, they gave this rare contract here. Also, Vivo Surgical, a startup developing surgical technology, robotic collaborative with research technology in electronics, medical devices, CDMO to build these devices. Right, these are good examples of how CDMO industry is like shaping up in India. Such like in drug also they're shaped in pharma, also coming to medical technology. The what is a competitive advantage or competitive landscape competition happening in the Indian market? So market composition is that actually in the higher end segment of the value chain, if you higher value added segment, MNCs dominate there because of high technology expertise that they bring, and Indian companies currently sadly do not have that kind of expertise. Domestic players are focusing, but they are focusing on low segments, lower price segments, low technological segments. There is a rising competition in this lower segment actually, and there's a pharma crossover happening because companies like Dr. Reddy or Cipla, which are like good enough established players of the pharma industry, they are getting into medical technology because of the growth rates, because this industry has a much more faster growth than what we're witnessing in the pharma industry, right? So these there's a pharma crossover happening with established players, pharma getting into the market. Such a kind of things are happening. Talking about the growth drivers for the industry, the first is actually the shifting disease pattern. So obviously, chronic diseases in India, as we talked about earlier, also that chronic diseases are increasing as compared to communicable those diseases. Preventive health care is a next trend that is happening. There's the application of next generation therapies also. And in terms of demographics, our rising per capita incomes, increasing insurance penetration, which is like lower single digit in India, and obviously has a lot of headroom to grow upwards, is there. There's a medical tourism happening because of a lower medical bills associated in India. A lot of medical tourists come in India, and these are also influencing the medical technology evolving in India. Ecosystem is evolving in which the government focuses there, and the companies are focusing on the IT strength. Startups are coming up, preventive healthcare, uh, and digital health solutions is also there. So these are all the growth drivers, like prevalence, more prevalence of chronic diseases, prevention, focusing on preventive healthcare, growing elderly population, which is our demographics. Is like our population is aging fast. Traditional more care outside traditional settings, digitally driven integrated healthcare, transition towards next gen hep therapies, rising incomes, expanding healthcare, insurance penetration, infrastructure expansion, medical tourism is increasing in India. Government focus is also there. Inherent India's core digital ecosystem is also there. Technological strength, and that's we are leveraging in the startup ecosystem. And obviously, all the storytelling which is happening, all these positive segment is obviously in they're like attracting the investors, and so they're improving investor segment sentiments, and always obviously because of that a lot of private equity money is coming into India in this sector. But not all things are rosy. Like these growth drivers are there. Obviously, we acknowledge them, but we should be aware about the key challenges, which are import dependency. As we saw that 80% import dependency is there. Although our plan is to reach to 50% by 2030, but it's a tall claim to be made, and a lot of work has to be done in terms of getting the whole ecosystem right. There is a lot of regulatory compliance challenges associated in India with anything related to healthcare technology. There are infrastructure gaps. Our workforce is not skilled enough for these researching medical technologies and developing and manufacturing. We are not, I think, ready to the full extent. And I think the opportunity lies here of creating here. And as it's all about the opportunities, because if you do a SWOT analysis, you do what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are the opportunities, what are the threats. So we discussed the challenges. So now we're discussing the opportunities. Import substitution is the biggest opportunity. To think the major segments, for example, medical technology, electronic equipments, we are majorly importing. There's a lot of growth scope there to substitute with domestic production through all the PLI schemes and other schemes that we can target, segment that we can evolve. Also, there's export potential in many segments. Also, we are doing exports and consumables a lot, but other segments we can increase export there, like of the technology that we create. Innovation lateral can happen, and there can be a tier 2, tier 3 expansion as well. So, for example, medical technology today mostly restricted to tier 1, not spread thoroughly. But I think that democratization will happen if, since we will gradually go down the price chain, because the we drop the prices, then the market expansion can happen in tier 2, tier 3 for India, and from there the whole size of the market will increase. That can be a great opportunity. In terms of investment potential, there are good growth potential as we saw. Industry growing fast. There is premiums and acquisitions happening, mergers and acquisitions happening all over the place. You see the private equity space. There is staggering amount of deals happening. If you see these deals numbers, is in millions in the different years. 2019, 180, 139, 293, 629, and this year, this report is obviously the data which has taken obviously till July of 2024 was staggering. More than $1 billion have been done in private equity, and these are the major deals like in January to August. Already 83% of the investment in the first 5 years, just in the 8 9 months, in the 7 8 months of this year, staggering growth. This one is a very important deal of KKR, which buyout of India's healthier MedTech for 839 million, which is contributing the most of this number. And so this is all we had, all we discussed about the potential, about the growth of the sector. And I think this conversation, this report that I prepared, this research that we did, I think is a lot of useful for all the aspiring entrepreneurs in the space who might all or the entrepreneurs who are working in this space or the aspiring to build something from space. The space throws immense opportunity in terms of import substitution and more focused growth that can be leveraged by the entrepreneurs. And obviously, we expect more and more entrepreneurs come, build for this market, expand the market, and grow and make India proud. Jai Bharat, Jai Hind, Dhanyavad.